Hi there guys, thanks so much for watching. My name is Alex and today I've got another video for you. Coming back after almost a full year off of YouTube. If anyone remembers me, all 14 subscribers, welcome back. Hope you've been doing very well. We're going to be doing another tier list just like we did last time. Today we're going to be doing one of my favourite bands of the metal persuasion. So all the videos I've done before have basically just been rock bands. This is going to be the first metal band I've done, which is strange because metal is my favourite genre of music. So yeah, this is going to be the first of many, I hope. And we're going to be doing In Flames. We're going to be doing the Swedish melodic death metal band. Plenty of albums. I think they've got about 14, 15 albums or so. So plenty of material to be talking about. And I'm sure I've probably got quite a few controversial views. A few of these that I've got today. Before I jump into the video, of course, if you all like the video, please do leave it a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you're new. And please leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. So yeah, let's get right down to it. So, we've got all of the albums from Lunar Strain and onwards. So, Lunar Strain, 1994. I actually do think this is a good album. The worst thing I would probably have to say about the album, of course, is the pretty dusty recording quality. I mean, for 1994, it's pretty good. I mean, in terms of everything that came out melodic death metal-wise in 1994 and before, this isn't really too bad. In terms of where I'd actually place it, I'm going to start off by putting it in B. It might rise to A in context of where I put everything else. It's not just a really consistent album, it's just the atmosphere. The atmosphere is probably, in terms of everything that In Flames have done, this is probably the most atmosphere-laden album that they've ever put out. One thing I do really appreciate as well, having thought about it, is the album cover. The album cover is probably their best album cover, I would say. Ultimately, that is a killer album cover. Yeah, so in terms of the actual songs they've got, I would say that it's not necessarily about the songs singularly, but it's the full album has a really consistent vibe to it all. Behind Space, Lunar Strain, Star Forsaken, Everlost 1 and 2. The actual song In Flames is pretty good. Hagaladen, or I can't remember how you pronounce that one. That's another good one as well. Upon an Oaken Throne. I'm probably forgetting quite a few, but yeah, the actual songs themselves are pretty decent. Dreamscape as well. I'm just kind of challenging myself in this video to think, what's the album, what's the song, and so on. So yeah, bottom line, I will put it in B. It might scoot up to A the more this video goes on, because it could well deserve an A. But at the very least, I'm giving it a high B just to start us off. Next, we've got Subterranean 1995, which is more or less an EP rather than a full album. I am very tempted to actually put this in S tier. I'm going to start off in A, because for what it's worth, song by song, the songs are absolutely phenomenal. It's a huge step up pound for pound versus Lunar Strain. It's not necessarily a consistent album like in Lunar Strain, but more or less it's going to have to sell itself with the songs, and it does a very good job in doing so. Stand Ablaze is probably my favourite song they've ever made, to be fair. And the fact that it came from this early release, definitely quite a striking feat. Subterranean is pretty good. Dead Eternity is pretty good, but of course they re-recorded that one and they made it a little bit better. Timeless, that's a good one. And then finally, Dead God in Me. They've got the old version of Dead God in Me. But yeah, pound for pound, this is better than Lunar Strain. It's got fewer songs, but the songs that they have got do hit a lot harder. They really are forming the In Flames sound by this point as well. So yeah, at the very least, I'm giving this one an A. I'd probably have to leave it an A. I can't give it an S because it's a bit too short. There are some songs a little bit shaky, like Ever Dying. Biosphere, it's not a bad song, it's not S tier, of course, like Stand Ablaze. I think I'm just gonna have to leave it there, to be fair, with Subterranean. Subterranean is fantastic as EPs go. Next one, we've got the Jester Race 1996. There's not going to be any confusions. I think most people would agree this is either their best album or it's one of their best albums. It's not just because the whole album, of course, extremely strong, but it's also got a really consistent atmosphere as well. I mean, I'm one of these people that talks about atmosphere in albums a lot. The consistency of the songs is pretty good. I can't really say there's ever actually a single song that's bad. I can't say there's any skippable material in this one. Yeah, Moonshield, Artifacts of the Black Rain, Jester's Dance, Graveland, Dead Eternity, Dead God in Me. Genuinely, this is probably their best one. It's probably my favourite one. I would probably say this is the one I've listened to the most. Start to finish, filled with absolute classics. It's basically peak In Flames, it's peak mellow death. Honestly, this album's amazing. And it gets an easy S tier. Next one, we've got Whoracle 1997. I think this is probably going to be pretty much not surprising anybody that I'm giving it an S as well. In some contexts, depending upon my mood, I would actually say this one's better overall than the Jester Race. While the Jester Race is a better Melodeath album, this next album, Whoracle, is a bit more riffy. So if someone like me is a bit more thrash oriented, I mean, I'm not the biggest thrash fan in the world, but if you're someone that really likes a good riff, a whole album of them, then you would maybe lean towards Whoracle overall. I would still probably say it's a little bit weak. I mean, there's at least one skippable song for me on this one. I think it's morphing into Primal that I don't tend to love. The whole album itself, almost from start to finish with that exception. Jotun, Food for the Gods, The Hive, Jester Script Transcripted, whatever it's called. Dialogue with the Stars. Dialogue with the Stars was actually the first song of theirs I ever heard when I was maybe about 13, during the old LimeWire days. I remember listening to this one song and literally nothing else. It probably was about 2007. So I definitely remember that particular song, and it really did leave a bit of an impression. I didn't really have any conclusions of the whole band just from that one song, but yeah, it definitely did leave me a good impression overall. But yeah, excellent album. I would say Whoracle is a little bit weaker, but it's almost there. It's almost neck and neck with the Jester Race. It's only just being let down by that one song. Otherwise, flawless album. Colony 1999. I will put it in S as well, which again, of course I will. I will have to say though, although Colony is quite a consistent album, its through line is pretty, it doesn't jitter so much. I would say the highs aren't as high as either Whoracle or the Jester Race. Very good tracks throughout the whole thing. There's no skippables. Even Whoracle has one skippable, but there's just not really one single song that can really live up to pretty much anything from those other two albums, unfortunately. Embody the Invisible and Ordinary Story, although very good, they're not quite reaching the highs that they should be. But otherwise, the whole album is pretty much bang on. Pretty much as good as it should be. Scorn, Pala Anders, Coerced Coexistence, Resin, Insipid, the re-recording of Behind Space, which is better, but I think ultimately they probably would have been better to just not include that, sadly, because I think that sort of devalues the original recording. Man-Made Gods, good one as well. But yeah, bottom line, Colony is a really good album. Colony's lows were better than Whoracle's. We're going to put Colony in third place S tier. I would say it's only just scraping an S. Personally, there's not really so many amazing songs. It's a very consistent album, but unfortunately it's not really wowing me like Whoracle did or like the Jester Race did. I would still say overall it's gonna be more an S than an A. I just have to make that qualification, unfortunately. I think that's probably an understandable thing to say. I mean, if you're somebody that thinks that there's a few songs that I'm not really a huge fan of, it's pretty good that you're giving it an S in that sense, because S basically means perfect. So we're going to let it slide. We're going to put it at an S tier and completely move on. Next, we've got 2000's Clayman. A lot of people would say this is one of their best albums. Me personally, I would probably, well, I know what I disagree with that, but I would probably put Clayman quite a lot lower down than some. So instead of S tier, I would at the very least give it a B. I mean, a B's still doing pretty well. The only reason I would give it a B is because while there are some very good tracks, Only for the Weak, Swim, Clayman, Strong and Smart, a few others as well. While there are still some very good songs, there's probably equally as many weak songs in my opinion. Bullet Ride, Pinball Map, they're just average in my opinion. As the Future Becomes Today, I'd probably skip that one. Square Nothing, I do like that song actually. Satellites and Astronauts, that's probably a skip from me. Brush the Dirt Away and Suburban Me, I think of those two songs as like the pure embodiment of this album. It's the style of Clayman, but just worsened. It's not as melodic as well. I'm going to have to put this one in B. It's going to be a lot of heavy lifting done by tracks like Only for the Weak and those other ones I've listed, but yeah, it's kind of a whole half of an album's worth of songs that really does drain it a little bit. I'll put it in B for the time being. It might actually get a bit of a lowering down as this review goes on, but yeah, I'll be nice, I'll stick it in B. I would probably say Lunar Strain overall not only has better songs, it does just present itself as a better, more consistent album. I think Clayman does have a lot of lurches. Other than Only for the Weak and a few others, I would actually even say this is quite a weak album. I'm going to move on because otherwise I'm going to be convinced to put it in C. Coming in next, 2002's Reroute To Remain. I, like probably most people, would say it's a good album. Despite being a bit of a stylistic change, a lot of people say this is the point where they became a little bit more commercially friendly, even a bit more new metal-y. Don't really know what to say about that. I mean, overall, I just think this is such a step up from Clayman in so many ways. It's got 14 songs on it. It's only got a few misses, really. Most of the songs that they've put on this album are way better than Clayman. So while most people would probably put this somewhere towards sort of the upper to average section of the tiers, I'm very tempted to put it in S, because thinking of all the songs that were on this LP, there were only really one or two I really didn't think were that brilliant. Rattling off the top of my head, Reroute To Remain is an absolute classic of a song. Drifter, System, Cloud Connected, Trigger, Dawn of a New Day, Minus, Ergonomic, Dismiss the Cynics, Metaphor, is it Black and White? I've forgotten. Yeah, well, that's most of them anyway. Most of those songs I would consider some of their classics, especially Cloud Connected and Trigger and the title track. Just so many good songs. There's quite a lot of material in this that you'd probably say isn't necessarily melodic death metal, or they've sort of ventured off from their roots into sort of, I don't want to say new metal, but the sort of more new metal, more alternative metal, whatever you want to call it. I just think it's some of the best material they've ever written. Trigger and Cloud Connected are some of their classics. If we're going to say that Only for the Weak is what made Clayman a really good album, or it did a lot of the heavy lifting for it, we're going to have to say equally, if not better, for Reroute To Remain. This could have been a really bad album because it's a lot of material packed into one LP. It's got 14 songs, as it proudly says in its subtitle, 14 songs of conscious insanity. I just think the song quality is very good, surprisingly, for as many songs as that packed all into one album. So I'll put it in low S tier. If I'm going to put Colony in S tier, I'm going to have to do the same for Reroute To Remain. I really do appreciate Reroute To Remain. I think it does a lot better than Clayman. It's a longer, better album compared to Subterranean, and it's better produced, at least, compared to Lunar Strain. Although, having said that, the vocals in Reroute To Remain are a little bit buried in the mix, unfortunately. It's still pretty well produced. I'll give it a pass on that one. Yeah, let's move on. Next one, we've got Soundtrack to Your Escape. I really don't like this one, sadly. I mean, I don't know if anyone really loves that album. A lot of people kind of give it a sort of middle of the road, if best, rating. For me, there's maybe one song that I really do appreciate, which is Evil in the Closet. I can't remember what it's called. Everything else, Touch of Red, Friend, A Quiet Place, Superhero of the Computer Age, Call 595 or whatever it's called. These are all really quite boring, bland material. And also, the production quality on Soundtrack to Your Escape is awful. It's like if you think about St. Anger level drums, the snare on this is just as bad. And you've got this brittle guitar tone as well. It's sort of like what I think of when I think of Lunar Strain, but in 2004, full decade later, which is crazy. So I've tried to get along with this album. I've tried to get into it. I've listened to it over and over, thinking, what am I missing here? It's just the material. It's not just the stylistic change. It's just the songwriting is just not very good. Whereas with Reroute To Remain, you could say it's a stylistic change. But at least you can say the songs were really good. They really leaned into a lot of their electronica elements like Cloud Connected. For this, it just sounds bad. And what's also funny, I've always thought this, the album cover just being a speaker cone, I just thought was a perfect cherry on the, or the icing on the cake, because it's like a terrible album, and they're not really hiding. It's like, what are we going to do? We're just going to stick a speaker cone. That's our photo. It's like the perfect lack of imagination. It's just perfect. So fitting. Easy D. D is going to be the lowest tier, so this really is saying something. It's to say that this is either their worst or one of their worst albums. I'll have to sort of make that choice when I come to it later. Yeah, Soundtrack to Your Escape. I just don't see much in it. Fair play to anyone that does. That's just my opinion. And coming up next, we've got Come Clarity in 2006. Come Clarity reminds me a lot of Reroute To Remain in a good way. It's not just the white album covers. Not really got nothing to do with that. It's the fact that, once again, it's got mostly really strong songs. It's still in flames, not venturing off into that far territories away from their original melodic death metal. You'd probably still say this is melodic death metal. You wouldn't say this is more metalcore. And yeah, I would say maybe the last quarter, maybe the last third of the album doesn't really hold my attention very well. Really, some of the best songs of this era are on this disc, to be fair. Reflect the Storm is one of my favourite songs they've ever made. Take This Life is okay. Leeches is okay. Dead End is just fine. Vacuum is good. Come Clarity, the title track, is really good. Crawl Through Knives is pretty good as well. Overall, I would definitely have to put Come Clarity at least in A. I couldn't put it in S. It's just, yeah, towards the end, Our Infinite Struggle, Bedtime Story, they are pretty bad songs. But the first 2/3 of the album are really, really solid. If all the album was just as good as the first 2/3, it's probably going to be another S tier, but sadly not. So at the very least, it's getting a low A. And I would say that Reflect the Storm, once again, just like Stand and Blaze, there's some songs on some albums that really do stand head and shoulders apart from the songs on the same albums. Reflect the Storm is fantastic. One of those songs that really does embody the In Flames spirit in so many ways. The melodic death metal, really good chorus, really good riffs, really good everything. I suppose I've talked enough. Come Clarity is definitely one of their better albums. What's next? Oh, Sense of Purpose. Sense of Purpose, 2008. So, Sense of Purpose is, I would say, the non-bonus edition, which has fewer songs for the better. I would, optimistically enough, I'd probably give that one a B as well. Maybe not quite as high as Clayman, but that's not to say that it's a disappointing album. I would still say that A Sense of Purpose is sort of that same balance as Come Clarity. Maybe 2/3 or so. Pretty strong, pretty solid, at least C. Let's say a high C or low B. But yeah, the quality of the songs, the high highs are just not there. Just like a Come Clarity. And then everything, you know, after the 2/3 mark, it's just lost me, unfortunately. The song that's about 8 minutes long in the middle, I don't think is terrible. The Mirror's Truth is really good. Disconnect is pretty good. Alias is pretty good. I'm the Highway is pretty good too. I'm sadly forgetting so many of these songs. I'm just gonna I'm just gonna tap out now. Sense of Purpose, a lot of people say it's kind of the falling off period of the band. I see some truth in that, and I do kind of agree with that, but it's not a bad album. It's just weaker than Come Clarity. It's similar to Clayman. I'm just someone that doesn't really like Clayman that much. I would say though, while Clayman is overrated, A Sense of Purpose is underrated. I think that's the best thing I can say about those two. Trying to think what we got next. We've got 2011 Sound of a Playground Fading. This one as well, I would say, is a rather bitter disappointment. While Sense of Purpose did have quite a lot of songs that at least held my interest enough to get me through about 2/3 of the album, like I say, Sounds of a Playground Fading is doing well to get my attention and hold it for at least a third of the album. About 2/3 of the album is just completely forgettable. It's not so much a style problem. Like, I don't really have a problem with the style. I mean, I actually do like quite a few of these songs, like Ropes, I think it's called. Deliver Us is a pretty classic song as well, actually. And the title song is pretty good too. But yeah, most songs on the album are just really forgettable, really throwaway material for them. Kind of an album filled with kind of what you would maybe consider like the B lists of Sense of Purpose. That's how it comes across, at least to me. So I would probably say it deserves a low D. Sounds like To Your Escape. The production does hurt it, but ultimately the songs are better on Soundtrack to Your Escape. They're not really to my taste, not really my cup of tea, but it's still better than Soundtrack to Sounds of a Playground Fading. Really, it's just an album filled with filler, unfortunately. So yeah, let's move on. So next we've got Siren Charms, which I think was 2013. So I know a lot of people do not like this album. A lot of people would say it's either their worst or joint worst with Battles. I would at the very least admit before I place it that it is better than, I'm going to forget it again, Sounds of a Playground Fading. So I'm going to probably put it in C, maybe a bit of a low C. There's quite a few songs on this that aren't brilliant, but there's surprisingly not that many bad songs. I'm going to be doing very well to remember half of these tracks, honestly. Through My Eyes, Through Oblivion, Paralyzed, Siren Charms is the title track. Rusted Nail is pretty good, that song. Yeah, I can't remember them. But they're pretty good, yeah. Album, not great, but compared to the two lower down, it's a lot better than most of the songs and their qualities that we've got lower down. I think really, just like Sense of Purpose, it is a very underrated album. It's not to say it's a good album. Sense of Purpose is a pretty good album. Siren Charms I see as being quite a disappointing album, but there are still some songs on it that I do listen to here and there. I will put it in C. It might shift. Yeah, Siren Charms, not a great album, unfortunately, but I think it does get a lot more hate than it really deserves. Next we've got Battles. This is surprising. Either I would put it in low B or at the top of C. This is not the sort of In Flames that we've come to know and love from the 1990s and the early 2000s. This is sort of an In Flames that's more on a par with that sort of late period of Linkin Park or Breaking Benjamin. And I say the latter as a little bit of a blessing, because I actually really like Breaking Benjamin. The thing about Siren Charms, we could probably say that a lot of the songs just aren't that great, but I personally wouldn't say that about Battles. I'd say they're very different, even from A Sense of Purpose. It's very bloopy, a little bit bloppy, it's a bit poppy, a bit more radio friendly, a bit more commercial. Kind of reminds me of Bring Me the Horizon, in a way, when they sort of went commercial. Some people really don't like Battles. People say that this is where they really became a little bit more butt metal. But genuinely, I do put on quite a few of these tracks. The ratio of good to bad is probably similar to Come Clarity. That sort of 2/3. Sadly, that's pretty much a standard for a lot of In Flames albums. It's like 2/3 are quite good, and then there's a third which is just like, you may as well just left them off. But yeah, but with Battles, very, very different. Personally, I don't think this is a bad album. I'm the sort of person that doesn't really dislike an In Flames album just because it's less heavy or it's less mellow death. I'm being very generous by putting it anywhere near Lunar Strain. But I have to be honest, I'm playing a lot of Battles, I'm playing a lot of A Sense of Purpose, just like I am with quite a lot of the songs from Clayman and the whole of Lunar Strain. Yeah, I'll cut myself short. I'm going to speak for way too long on Battles, but yeah, Battles, it's very different, but it leans into its its difference with a little bit of grace. We've got two more. Either Mask is next, 2000 and I believe 2019. Once again, it is better than Siren Charms. I think a lot of people would agree with that. But I'm just trying to think of where I put it. It's pretty equal, pretty similar to Battles. I'd probably give it a slight edge. I mean, some people absolutely despise Our House. I think that's a good song. It's catchy. It's deliberately catchy. It's very chorus core, very a la all those sort of Day to Remember sort of choruses, unfortunately. I mean, I'm not the sort of person to ever listen to them, so that's not a good thing. Most of the songs are at least fine, but there's a few songs, while not terrible, I would say they're a bit hit or miss. I'm above, like, a lot of these songs are just... there's a lot on Battles that I would prefer, but I am still willing to say that Either Mask is a better and more consistent album. It doesn't have the lurches up and down like both Battles and Siren Charms does. Even Siren Charms, I would say, has that problem. So, once again, Either Mask is viewed quite negatively overall. And of course, it's not just because it's not the melodic death metal that they started with, but some people just think that, this is Our House. People think, oh, well, this is... this is In Flames at the absolute lowest point. This is so cheesy, the sort of kid chorus. A lot of people cringe at that. I don't, personally. I think that's fine. It's a good song. And we come to the very final album, Foregone. And as we all know, a lot of people love this album. A lot of people think this is a bit of a return to form, which I don't necessarily fully disagree with. I just think that this is sort of a mixture of, let's say, Clayman and Either Mask. I could be completely wrong. Some people would be completely shaking their head at that, but it's got some of the sensibilities of Either Mask and Battles even. But it has, it's got the odd blast beat. It's got some of the choruses that you probably have found from Clayman. And I say that with all due respect. I'm saying that as a good thing. That's still when they were melodic death metal. The best thing as well of this album, of Foregone, is I would definitely say as well, it's a really neatly packaged album. It doesn't have the sort of jitter that even Clayman's got. It's got nothing to do with the style. The songs themselves are just continuously pretty good songs. While I do think it's not necessarily the glorious return to form that a lot of people say this is, I will have to admit that it is a relatively strong album in context with this style, which is still a little bit more melodic death metal than their last 3 releases. There's parts on this album that do give me a sort of, even an at the gatesy sort of vibe. It's the drums, it's the riffs and so on, it's not necessarily the vocal. Yeah, so as to where I put Foregone, I would probably put it still right about there. And some people would say it's better than Sense of Purpose. And in a way, I see it. I would consider Foregone way more consistent than A Sense of Purpose. But Sense of Purpose does have quite a lot of songs that I like a lot more than anything from Foregone. This is the thing. I do see a reason maybe to shift it up slightly. Because it is a very consistent album. It doesn't have these lurches up and down like Clayman does. But the problem with Foregone is it's really just a better version of Either Mask. I would probably have to stick it right about there. It's not as good as Clayman overall, but I do definitely see it as a better release than everything that came before it, at least up until, well, even after Sense of Purpose. It's better than The Sense of Purpose in my opinion in that marginal sense. This is an overall album, it's better. I wouldn't say it has better songs, but we're talking about albums overall, we're not talking about just songs. There we are folks. That's my tier list, that's my In Flames album ranking. Some of these were pretty milquetoast, pretty lukewarm, and some of them were pretty spicy, we'd have to say. But if you do think so, please do let me know in the comment section below. Please do say what your ranking would be. Please tell me what maybe you disagree with the most, or maybe which you agree with the most, or if you're ultimately in agreement with one of my more hot takes. Maybe I'd like to hear that. But that rounds us off today, guys. Thank you so much for reaching into the end. I really do appreciate that. Just like I said before, if you did like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you want to see anything like this. Please leave me a comment in the comment section below as to what you maybe want to see next. I'm always happy to see what people want out of these sort of videos. But yeah, that's the video today, guys. Until next time, peace.